4 years ago, I was knocking on doors with a push mower trying to get my very first customers. This year, we're on pace to do $500,000 in revenue, and I'm still a full-time college student. In this video, I'm breaking down the 5 steps that actually built this business so you can apply them to yourself, and the last one is one I wish I understood way earlier. Step 1, getting your first customer. When I started, I didn't have any fancy equipment. I had like a Toro push mower, an electric weed whacker I got from my dad's house that would die halfway on the job. I went to my old neighborhood. I just knocked on doors. That was how my business basically started, is I just knocked on doors. It was uncomfortable. You'd get nervous, your heart starts pounding, and you embarrass yourself in front of a couple people and get yelled at in front of a couple people. So you have to be able to withstand that, and it really out of your comfort zone and makes you very confident when talking to who you're trying to sell and do business to. And then also I posted on local Facebook forums. I would post on there and ask, hey, I'm new at this business. I'm looking for work, looking to make a name for myself. Give me a chance with your property. And through that, a lot of people like to support you. Also, when going door to door and posting on the Facebook forums, I would mention that underdog story. I'm trying to save up for college. This is a way for me to save up for college and make some summer money. And at the time, I didn't know that this was going to be my career path. I thought maybe it could, maybe it won't. So I didn't really know at that time, but I definitely know that this is my career for the foreseeable future. And when you target more wealthier neighborhoods, these people enjoy entrepreneurs that are actually going out there on a weekend and putting themselves out there and introducing themselves and trying to sell their business. And they're happy to support someone even if they don't really need the service that bad. It's almost like donating for them when someone's starting out. So make sure you have a good underdog story, be able to sell yourself. A lot of wealthier people in general that have disposable income, most of them are more than happy to support a young guy trying to make some money and make a business for himself. Another thing to remember too is that you're not only in business for mowing, unless you are. I wasn't, and most companies aren't. Mowing is what I view as to get you in the door, and then from mowing you can upsell on mulch, river rock, trimming bushes. Even when you start, you could do some pavers, you could do all kinds of different things on the property that fall in the realm of landscaping. So mowing is really good, it's sticky, it's recurring revenue, which is very valuable. Maybe not the highest margin compared to project-based work, but it has value because it is recurring, it's predictable, you can have guys lined up the whole season. Whereas projects, the nice thing about project-based work is that it's usually higher margin. You're on the same property all day. You're not having wasted truck time like with mowing, but you have to sell them. They are not guaranteed. You have to actually have a salesman, or you need to be out going to do quotes. The downside with a lot of projects is when there's recessions that come or economic downturns, the mowing customers and the small services, recurring services like fertilizer and mowing, that's usually less disposable income. That's more, the mowing and the fertilizer are usually lower ticket services. So the paver patio, the mulch install, the bush trimming, the more expensive the project is, the more likely that the can's gonna get kicked down the road for that versus mowing, where people are like, oh, it's only $50 a week. We'll keep doing it. We don't want to cut our own grass. That's why it's good to have a mixture of some recurring revenue as your foundation, some project-based work. But there's companies that do millions purely off project-based work, and they have great salesmen and great teams, and they can withstand economic downturns, and they have good systems and procedures that allow them to generate leads very consistently and predictably. So it's definitely possible. My philosophy is I like a mixture of everything, and I like to be diversified with my services. Step 2, turn one customer into more. So early on when I started this business, like I said, I went door to door. When I would do the work for these customers, I worked really hard to do a good job. You have to have integrity. These people were very happy with my work, my personality, liked how professional I was. I presented myself as very professional when I was younger and first starting. I had my own uniforms, even though it was just me. I put a logo on my little red truck, and I tried my best to look as professional as I can to have someone trust me with their property at 18, 17, in that range. That helped a lot, and once you do a good job for those people now have a network of potentially 100 people they see in a week. And if a couple of those people are like, hey, I need some landscaping done, or they're on Facebook, hey, I saw some landscapers, that person knows that you did a good job for them, and then naturally, you guys already know this, but word of mouth compounds like a snowball. It starts growing really fast. So at the beginning, we didn't run any ads. I posted for free on Facebook forums, and that actually has gotten me jobs every time, posting on Facebook forums. You're reaching potentially 10 to 15,000 people depending on the forum for free. So as long as the administrators allow you to do that, that's a great way to do it. I actually still do this to to this day to get a couple free jobs in the door. The next thing I'd say is I put a lot of effort into customer service. Earlier on, I understood what the customers would complain about. I asked what they didn't like about their previous provider. And more common than not, it was the customer service. I can't get a hold of them. I can't make changes. I can't do this, can't do that. I answer the phones very promptly. I send text messages back from the system very promptly. And it's easier for me to do that now, I understand, because I'm the only one in the office. I got time. I do it off the clock. You got to be careful about doing it too much because then people start to expect it. And then when you want some more work-life balance and ignore your work phone at home a little bit more, people start to get impatient, even though that's what all businesses do. No one answers the landline from home for a business. But still, while you're in the workplace, make sure you answer the phones and texts very promptly, get back to people, send estimates back within a day or two, unless it's a massive project that takes multiple parts, just to get the ball rolling with the first initial step. Those are all good examples of good customer service, taking ownership when you mess up, going back out to the callback if you do mess up. We don't mess up that much. We've been blessed with great people. And just being prompt. I guess if you could describe everything I've said in one word with the customer service is promptness. Another thing that helped me a lot, which I focused on earlier, was Google reviews. When I started early, I didn't have a Google business profile. I didn't have any of that. It was just kind of my personal number. But then I soon realized I watch a lot of content creators like Mike Andes and a lot of small lawn care business owners, some large franchise owners that make content on YouTube. And I realized that the Google business profile is huge for getting new customers. So when you couple referrals with your Google business profile, you're getting a compounding snowball effect of new leads coming in from new customers, and then also referrals, which referrals are really nice because the close ratio is usually higher. Because they know you do a good job, they trust their friends, they're a lot less price sensitive, they trust you. Newer people, all they have to trust you is your reviews. So once I started getting reviews, the more calls I started to get. First couple years I had 5 reviews, 15, 30, now we're at 72 all 5-star reviews, and I'd like to keep that number growing. I push for reviews pretty heavily. I have a CRM system that automatically prompts people to leave reviews for me, and with the reviews, now where we're at, last year we did about 290,000, 300,000-ish. This year, like I said, we're projected to do $500,000 if jobs keep coming in and everything goes to plan. And what we started to do this year, which is our first year, which has paid off major dividends, is Google Ads. It presents our Google business profile on Google and ranks us higher in local areas. So when people look up lawn care near me, landscaper near me, mulch near me, we show up first in that given time of day depending on our budget. We started off by doing maybe $25 a day. That worked well. And then we ramped it up in the spring to $50 a day, which is a pretty big monthly expense. I've had a couple quotes for big commercial contracts that were 15, 30, 40,000 come in leads. Some of them you get, some of them you don't, but you get one of those contracts and it pays for a couple months of marketing. I'm living at home right now, so it doesn't really matter. I don't need to take that much money. Might as well take the disposable income I have and throw it back into ads, marketing, reinvesting in equipment, and we'll touch more on that later. Just to recap about turn one customer into more, step 2 would be referrals, reputation, Google reviews, making a Google business profile. Having a website, it's okay. I would say just do it to check the box. Some people make the website like a massive deal. You need to have a good website, SEO. It's like, no, I don't think so. In this day and age, and in the big 26, I have a website that was made by my CRM that connects directly with my CRM. It's very basic, but checks the box. Customers fill out a form. They just click it. It goes right to my CRM. I get notified on my phone, my laptop, and it's very straightforward. It's baked into my monthly cost for the CRM. What is more important to me right now, I think, is the Google business profile. Eventually, I will probably upgrade my website, but it really hasn't hurt me, obviously, yet. I've had some major project leads come through. We have a gallery section to showcase our work. If you're doing $100,000, $200,000 projects, you probably want a little bit more premium website, but ours is fine. It's working well for us now, and there's no reason to change it because our customers love it. I can see how much attention it gets and people coming through, and it works seamlessly. So I would say the first priority is having a Google business profile with reviews, pictures of your team, your work, anything that you think Google would like to see to support your culture and your quality and have others trust your business. Another thing too is get BBB accredited. It's not a huge deal, but it's nice to put a sticker on your truck that says BBB accredited. BBB accredited on Google on your website. It's just a nice box to click just to help everything. That's how you turn one customer into more. That's at least the way we did it. I wish I would have done Google reviews way sooner and Google ads way sooner, and we'd probably be further than we are now. You learn, and that's why you're watching this video, so you can grow faster than me. Step 3. We touched on this a little bit in step 2, but in this step we talk about reinvesting everything early on. There's people that can do this and people that can't do this. And if you're young and you're wanting to start a business, I would do it while you're living at home. A major advantage I have that I've been told was a good decision by many people is reinvesting pretty much almost everything back into the business. I usually pay for gas on my card, but I'll pay myself $75 a week. Occasionally I'll move more money over, but that's all I need when I'm living at home. I don't need to buy much more stuff. If I want to make a bigger purchase, I just move the money over and take it as income. But overall, I don't pay myself much. I reinvest it back into the business, back into people. That isn't long term, so you need to structure a business that supports you taking in income. As of now, I believe that's the best and most wise thing to do because I don't need the money. I'm living at home. Make sure you have a personal savings and take a little bit out every year, invest, save. But other than that, all the money you wouldn't need, I would throw back into the business, reinvest into trucks, ads, marketing, raises, and whatever you can afford to do to improve your business, I would do as long as you build a business that can support you taking a wage eventually. This shouldn't mean that your business can't afford to pay you anything because you're bidding so low and pricing things so low. It should mean that you're able to pay yourself and don't. I think that's a major advantage you have versus someone who's maybe that has a family and kids and lives on their own, who's going to have to grow a little bit slower just because of their life. 25 to 35 years old starting a business, and that's when it introduces more risk, is when you're not living at home. You have a family, you have payments that you need to pay for that won't go away. That's when you're going to have to start taking a little bit more income and lowering the risk and the rate of growth. If you're young, absolutely, I would highly recommend just dumping it all back into the business because why not? Why would you not just grow as quick as possible, have lower risk, and then once you actually do need to move out, you have this business that where it can actually support you because you invested early on, you're getting rewarded when you actually need to move out and you can make a good living. Another point to be said with the reinvesting is what truck should I buy? Should I buy new? Should I buy used? What should I get? Should I use debt? Should I be cash only? And I don't think there's a one or the other. I think that I know myself. I'm not mechanically inclined. I have buddies who are, but I myself am not. And I can't rely on my buddies having to fix my stuff every time. So what we've chosen to do is finance used trucks. We don't buy new, we buy used, and we buy them with maybe 50 to 90,000 miles in that range, where you're not taking out a ton of debt, but you still do have some debt. You have trucks that are reliable and won't break down. We don't mess with diesels yet because it's too complicated for me. I don't know people that work on them. They break down. They have exhaust issues with the EPA now. I just do Chevy gas motors. I've had barely any issues with them. But what I see a lot of people do when they're starting out is buying brand new trucks, diesels. I see a high country Duramax with 1 0-turn on the trailer mowing grass as a solo operator. And to me, that's just really dumb. If you want to splurge on a truck a little bit, you can, but get what you need early on. I think I've made a mistake with one of my trucks, was a little bit more expensive than it needed to be. And I used it personally, and my guys had trucks that were a bit weaker that I couldn't splurge on a third truck because we grew faster than we expected. I spent more than I needed to on this Chevy 3500, which I wanted to be used as my personal vehicle, but we grew too fast where I bought that vehicle and we needed a third vehicle, so I had to cheap out on the third vehicle. So we have a 2500, a 3500, a 1500. Now I have to drive the 1500, which is fine, but if I wouldn't have bought that 3500 as new or as nice of a truck, I could have bought a nicer third truck that's bigger and more heavy duty and would last longer for the company. So really make sure you have a plan, and I could have bought more with my money if I would have just thought about it a little bit more. So make sure when you're buying trucks to envision the future a lot, because some people don't think it's very important, just buy whatever works, but you need to have a strict plan of what crew is going to use what truck, what are the weight capacities, can this truck handle that weight, can this truck tow this, what is the gas mileage. You need to really think about all those things and come up with a plan. What are you going to drive as the owner? How are you going to get around? How are the crews going to get around? And that's super important. But another thing too is I also wouldn't cheap out and get things that are trucks that are rusted out, 200,000 plus miles, unless you want to spend extra hours working on trucks as a business owner. To me, that doesn't sound ideal. I don't want to be working until 10 p.m. wrenching on trucks because I just have no debt. So I don't think that's the answer, and you want to look professional too. You can't be rolling up in a rusted out SUV trying to sell a $25,000 job. It's just not going to work. So you need to find a happy medium as soon as you can. I used a red Dodge Dakota 2002 up until about 2 years ago, and now we have 3 newer Chevys. And the only difference with that is I chose to have some debt, but I believe it's paid off majorly. When you introduce debt, you introduce risk, but with risk comes potential upside. So we would not be where we're at now without some debt. I think we're in a good spot, and I think there's no answer one way or the other. I think if you're smart and your numbers, your consistent monthly costs, you know what your close ratio is, you know what your margins are. I think the more dialed in and the more you know about the numbers in your business and how predictable it is, allows you to introduce more debt. If you're running a business that you don't really know your numbers, you don't really have a predictable lead flow, sometimes your leads are hot and cold. The debt isn't hot and cold. The debt comes back every month, and you need to pay those payments. So you need to have work that's reliable and predictable, and you need to know your numbers and how much you can afford. That's what I would say regarding trucks and equipment and debt. And same thing with mowers too, same philosophy as well. Except we buy all our mowers brand new. I don't want to deal with someone else's problems with not maintaining a mower. Step 4, build systems. Core point, hustle works until it doesn't. When you first start a business, the paper notes, schedules, and handwritten stuff works until it doesn't. You can't mentally remember everything, and things will slip through the cracks if you don't have an online organizational tool or systems and procedures when it comes to operations, administration, and finance. One thing that I use that helps me a lot is Jobber CRM. They are a client relations management system, but it allows you to let me zoom out. There's a big funnel. At first, it's the Google Business Profile, which they click on our website from the Google Business Profile, and then our Jobber supported website, they fill out a request form on that website, and then it goes right into my CRM system, which is also Jobber, and then it tells me a request with exactly what they want. Sometimes it sends photos. If it's just mowing, I can quote them there. I don't even have to meet some of these people for mulch or lawn mowing, or I just look at the photos in there and then text them with the quote, and then they can go to the CRM, scroll down, click the options they want. They can hit approve and sign and put a 50% deposit down with a non-refundable deposit. And then boom, you're on the schedule. And that can take all of 10 minutes. Whereas if you're doing everything on paper, someone's got to call you, you got to go to the job. Sometimes you have to go to the job. A lot of times you do. Sometimes with these guys with the paper, they'll have to go out to the job, write all the notes on their piece of paper, throw it in their office somewhere, get around to it, work out the numbers on graph paper, and it's just archaic. You need to get a client relation management system or whatever it's called, CRM. It's life-changing. It takes a lot of effort out of my life, saves me a lot of time, saves you on administration costs. It schedules, it routes my guys, it creates jobs for them, it does marketing for me, it gets me Google reviews, it runs my website, it does everything. And I think it costs me, you can have different levels of subscriptions, but I think my subscription, where it basically does the marketing, scheduling, quotes, invoices, jobs, card payments, banking stuff, I think it's $450 a month. And that seems like a lot, but for what it does, I'd rather pay $450 a month for the ease of me doing it here and there versus an administration person making thousands a year. That's what I would rather do at this stage, and I think it's paid off majorly for me. And I've heard a lot of great feedback from my customers that they love the on-the-way texts. They'll get a day before reminder that you can set up custom. They'll get an on-the-way text when we're 10 minutes away from their property, either for landscaping or mowing. And then they'll get notified when we complete the job as well and get prompted to leave a 5-star review if they're happy, or leave us a feedback form that I will see, and then I can address if there's anything that needs to be addressed, or if they did a great job, you get a 10 out of 10, or they leave a review on our Google Business Profile. It's beautiful. It all works together. It's all synchronized, and I highly recommend using Jobber CRM or a CRM like it. But I've looked into many, and I would recommend Jobber above all of them. Being sponsored. The next thing I wouldn't do is your own accounting. A lot of people have buddies or friends or do it themselves who run QuickBooks and do their books and stuff. I just recommend you go to a firm and hire an accountant. It does cost a little bit extra money, maybe hundreds a year, a couple hundred a year, maybe 1,000 or two max, depending on what size your business you are. It's billed hourly. But for me, I don't even have to look. My accountant does all my numbers. She sends me a monthly profit loss statement. She does my taxes. She just needs a couple forms and information every so often. The main reason you do it is twofold. One is the risk. These firms are insured, and it's on them if they don't do your taxes correctly. So if they don't do it correctly, they're going to have to deal with the IRS, not me. So that's a huge plus. I'm not a professional, and I don't want somebody doing it who's not insured who's going to have it fall back on me, and then I'm going to owe the IRS fees and penalties. Not about that. I'm not for that kind of risk. And number two is like, why would I take more time out of my day to do something that increases my risk when I could just pay someone a couple $100 to do it all and then have all my profit loss numbers and all my information I need? It's just a no-brainer. Hire an accountant or someone that has some type of certification, CPA, something like that, in-house. Obviously, we're not big enough yet to have an in-house CPA or accounting bookkeeping person. I would just recommend hiring an accountant from an insured firm that is willing to bear the risk and not you. Step 5, replace yourself. Core point, this is actually what makes a business. You don't actually own a business when it can't function without you. You own your own job. So the difference is between owning a business and owning a job is a test. And to run this test, you have to ask yourself, can the business run and make money if I get injured, if I get sick, if I can't show up to work, will the business still run? And if the answer is yes, you own more closer to a business. If the answer is yes, you pretty much own a business. If the answer is no, you own your own glorified job that you are in charge of. So if things fall apart when you're not there for a couple days or you can't take a vacation, you don't really own a business. I would say that we're pretty close to the stage where this business can run pretty seamlessly without me, in the field at least. So I wouldn't say I own a full function, I mean I do, but I wouldn't call it a self-sufficient business to where I could take off 2 weeks and not do any administration, it would still run. So I'm not at that stage yet. I'm at the stage where if I am sick and have to stay at home or I'm in the hospital or something, I can still have my laptop and do some work and keep the jobs rolling at least for a certain amount of time, but eventually you got to do quotes and estimates and get back to people. I'm getting there, we're getting close, and at the stage we're at, I think we're doing a very good job of having the foremen take great leadership and run their crews well and are very autonomous. So we're heading in a great direction here. That's a simple test you can run. So some people think it's better to stay small versus grow. In some situations, I would disagree. And that being, if you have a family and you stay small and the business relies on you being there every day and you get injured or sick and you can't produce income, what are you going to do? You can't get another job, you can't work, the business is going to collapse and you can't sell it. So there's really nothing you can do, and to me that's irresponsibility. I think you need to get to the point where the business can run temporarily, at least without you. That way, if something does happen to you, it can run and make you money. And ideally, you could pass it all along to your wife and it could run and she could be the CEO or the owner that doesn't really have to be involved much. And God forbid something happened to you, they would still be able to make money from it. And it would still function and run like it should. If it doesn't do that, I would just be concerned about the risk of, like I said, if anything happens to you, you got to find a way to make money. If the business can't run by itself and falls apart, to me, that's irresponsible and negligence. So I get that not everyone can grow a business that can run by itself, especially if they start later in life. And does that happen often? Of course not. But I would say it's definitely more ideal to be bigger and have a business that runs on systems and procedures that can run without you than to stay small because you're introducing risk. Especially with being in college, I needed a business that could at least run the labor by itself because I couldn't be there in person some days. And a couple ways I did that was I don't believe I'm cheap with labor. I believe I pay people pretty well for the most part. I hire for character. That's huge for me. Some people hire guys with 10 years landscape experience, 15 years, older guys. I prefer to hire younger guys that maybe you start them off a little bit lower, but I hire for character, good guys I know that are honest and will do good work that can learn pretty quick. Most people can learn how to lawn and landscape within a year. Mowing is a little bit more skilled than landscaping, but I believe if you got a good guy that works hard with good character, they can learn pretty quick. And I prefer to train people up than to hire in talent. When you hire in talent, sometimes in this industry specifically, I don't know if it's like this everywhere, they come in with this hat on them when you hire in a foreman or a manager. They think that they run the stuff, they run the show, they have an ego on them. Not everyone's like that, but I've experienced some of that. I think it's just better you save a little bit on labor hiring people without experience. You can train them up, give them raises as they become more efficient for the business. And then the character is the biggest part. So the character is more permanent. The training is temporary. They're going to be inefficient for a little bit. There's going to be a sunken cost with that. Well, I guess it wouldn't be sunken. I guess you're training them to become better, so it's like an investment. But like I said, hire for character over experience. Experience is fine as long as character there, but don't hire experience if character is not there, because that can destroy your business. Another thing I learned too is that when I first started having these guys go out on their own crews, I would micromanage them a lot and check in on them. You can't be doing that. When you appoint someone to a foreman position, you have to expect them to do their job until they don't. So let them go, I know for me, it was scary at first for me not actually doing the work, because I had a great reputation of doing great work just by myself. But more likely than not, these guys will thrive when you let them go and let them do their own work. When they lead a crew, they feel empowered and they do a better job. Just let the guys do their job, man. More likely than not, they'll do a good job. And I would say that the general rule of thumb is, in order to delegate a task in business, they have to be able to do 80% of the quality that you do. If they can do 80% of the quality on a consistent basis to start, that is the green light to delegate the task to a certain employee. Another strategy to find talent that cares about the business and shows up and can allow you to own a business and not own a job is to show them the vision, show them that there's growth opportunities, show them that the time they're putting in is actually an investment, because as we grow, their position grows as well. There's promotions, there's pay increases, so as long as they care and do a good job and care about the business, there's growth opportunities involved, and you have to constantly keep showing everyone the vision. No one wants to work for a stale company that has no future. Everyone wants to work for a company where everyone works hard, we grow, we achieve things, and I think that's very attractive for new talent and attracting people that may have not even thought about working in this industry before. I just think it's a good thing to express your vision and show your growth, and it's almost like investing in something early on that will grow and pay dividends later. That could look like pay increases, promotions, things like that. A couple of the hardest parts of this business would be, I would say, balancing it with school, extracurricular activities outside of business. When you get into business, you have to understand that customers are going to be chirping your ear all the time about either they want something done a little bit differently, they want a quote on this, it could be anything, positive and negative. Ideally, it's less negative than positive. There's times where people mess up, there's times where people do a good job. A thing that I'm working on is to turn off the phone after work hours. You can't be answering calls and texts from clients at 8 or 9 p.m. unless it's a massive job or something urgent. So I would just say make sure you have a switch between the work life and the personal life. That is, you really need to work on that, because it's going to affect people in your life. People are going to get annoyed at you. Not everyone, you think your business is the main thing in your life. To other people, it isn't. No one cares. So you can't be talking about it all the time. You can't be working on it all the time in people's faces. You don't want to be up in people's faces about your business at all times. So try not to make it your whole personality. I know we do the YouTube and the social media and all that, but don't obsess over it in front of others all the time. There's more to life than just owning a business, and when you start, it's fun, it's a game, you can become obsessed pretty quick, but I would say let yourself have some balance in your life. Not saying have distractions and take the foot off the gas, but make sure you get some good downtime, do stuff with your friends, family, and just have some more balance in your life. Another hard part is like equipment issues. We're not handy when we have equipment issues early on, especially. This is the main stress point early on in business that I remember. We'd have equipment break down, we don't have any spare machines or couldn't afford it at the time, and it would ruin our day, and we'd have to wait on the mechanic to fix it and get loaners, and there'd be costs with that. It's just bad. You start to fizzle out of that stress as you grow, and it turns into different stresses, but when you're early on, you better hope your one mower and your one truck works, or else you're not working. So you need to have some type of backup plan. You need to learn how to do belts, grease, blades, just some basic things that go wrong. Normally have it in stock, be able to replace it, frequent oil changes, be diligent about your maintenance. That's something I could get better at too. The spring is like a war. Landscape business and most outside blue collar businesses, the spring is, they call it the spring rush. You get inches of rain, you can't work, you can't cut grass, get backed up, machines are pushed harder, they break down. So understand that the spring is always a battle and it gets better throughout the summer. You just got to make it through. And I remind my guys of that constantly. They work way more hours in the spring than they do in the summer. Just weather through it. I guess overall, if I had to sum it all up, have to just love the game and have a passion for it. If you view owning a business as a job, you're just not going to be successful. If you hate coming to work every day and you hate your business and hate your job, you're not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to put it out there like that, because there's so many things you have to do after hours, fix things and put extra hours in compared to everyone else that maybe no one sees. That if you did that with a job you don't like, that's not sustainable. It's going to take a toll on you and you're going to hate your life. So you got to make sure you love the game. Of course, there's mundane, boring tasks that everyone hates. You have to love the big picture, the vision, and the process of running a business, your people, and the whole thing. Because if you hate the grind, this will eat you alive. What would I do differently if I had to start again? I would say the first thing is focus on Google reviews sooner, getting as many reviews as I possibly could sooner just so I could appear on Google more often. I wish I had a more organized system like Jobber CRM earlier on, just to take some headache out of my life. Probably should have hired an employee earlier and took some weight off my chest. I wish I would have bought equipment in a different way. I wish I would have bought all my mowers new to start, because we had a lot of breakdowns from buying used mowers that weren't maintained. And I wish I would have thought more about buying certain trucks, which isn't a big deal, but we could have had a dump truck or something else by now if I would have just allocated my funds more properly. Another thing would be trying to do everything myself and micromanage these jobs. Let everyone do their own job. Expect that they're going to do their job in a good way until they don't. Chill on that, you know what I'm saying? In summary, this business started with a push mower and door knocking. So when I say it's possible, I genuinely mean it, and I could have done it a lot faster if I would have known certain things. Did a lot of research and studying. So watch as many videos like this as you can with people that are even bigger than me or even smaller than me, and you'll be able to avoid a lot of the headaches and bumps that we had when starting our business. We haven't had anything too terrible go on. It takes a lot of work. You have to enjoy the grind. You have to love the game. You have to have a passion for your people and the business in order to be successful and grow at a fast pace and love your life. But if you're willing to start small, stay consistent, reinvest, and build correctly, you can absolutely create something real and get some freedom in your life with running a fully autonomous business. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more vlog style videos and any other videos that Michael comes up with. Thanks for watching.